Hello, my people. Welcome to another exciting episode on the Paradigm Shift, where we discuss about interesting and challenging topics that challenges the status quo. Today, on this episode, I'm your host, Miles, and in the studio with me today, I have two amazing, beautiful, and intelligent individuals. On my right, I have Miss Abba Emanuela. She's a counselor. I know you have great interest in assisting people who have trauma and supporting them.
I do.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So on my left, I have Felicity. She's a seasoned business consultant. I know you don't like being addressed with that, but I'd rather use that.
Seems like you like season.
Yeah. I like it.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. You're welcome. So, on today's episode, we'll be speaking about the unspoken effect of sexual harassment and breaking the silence. Like we all know, in the society today, a lot of people, one way or the other, despite the fact that people don't have enough confidence to come out and speak about it, some people have been harassed sexually. So, Miss Abba Emanuela, what do you think about the physical trauma and the long-term psychological effect of sexual harassment?
Okay, so there are countless numbers of emotional and psychological effects of sexual harassment.
Okay.
Now, sexual harassment is a very, very controversial topic to talk about, right? Because different individuals have different ideologies, different perspective of how they see sexual harassment. Now, the effect of sexual harassment on victims,
Yes.
emotionally and psychologically, you have depression and anxiety.
Yeah.
I'm sure we understand what it means for someone to be depressed,
Yeah.
for someone to have anxiety.
Yeah.
That individual is going to be at the lowest minimum, where they feel they don't have any
No.
sense of worth,
Yeah.
where they don't have value.
Self-doubt.
It's from there they go into trust issues. Most of them do not have trust issues.
True.
They feel as though there's no one around them they can trust. They can't tell their issues to. From there, you begin to have relationships strain from your partner, your family, your friends. You begin to get social withdrawal. You don't want to be in the midst of people.
Yeah.
Why? Because you feel like you are not fit to be in that position as at that moment. That's what sexual harassment does to you. So these effects are really, really, really detrimental to sexual harassment victims.
True. Miss Felicity, beyond the physical traumas, what are the psychological and emotional effects you think sexual harassment brings?
Right. I like the topic or the theme for this podcast.
Okay.
Paradigm shift. Before we begin to shift paradigm, I would like us to, as per sexual harassment, let's know what sexual harassment is.
Yeah.
Because like Miss Abba said, she said many people describe what sexual harassment is, and that's why we have a lot of whether is this sexual harassment, can this be categorized, can this be punished or not. So in a bid to do a bit of study for this topic, I found that sexual harassment is unsolicited, unwelcomed, uninvited, verbal or physical, sexual activities, especially coming from someone who is in authority, to either a student or an employer. Okay. So basically, when we want to say sexual harassment is in the premise of workplace or school, right? So when someone is looking to you to probably pass sexual favor, maybe as little as hugging the person, as little as, can I be real?
Yeah.
Let me just touch your butt, right?
Yeah.
And not only you get bomb,
True.
that's sexual harassment.
Yes.
I didn't call for it.
Yeah.
Even if what I'm wearing was tight,
it's
not your business.
As far as it's unsolicited.
It's unsolicited, unwelcome, uninvited. That's sexual harassment.
True.
You don't have to force me to bed. For
Yeah.
it, for the deed should not have been done.
Yes.
Before
As
we now
far as you didn't
categorize it as
consent
sexual.
to it,
I didn't consent to it.
it's sexual harassment.
So if we say uninvited, unsolicited, unwelcome,
Yeah.
of course there are psychological and emotional
Effects.
effects
Yeah.
attached to it.
Yeah.
So
That's,
I'll stop there.
Thank you very much. So, Miss Abba, you were talking about the effects of sexual harassment, and you mentioned self-esteem and self-doubt and all that. So, how does sexual harassment affect a person's self-esteem?
It affects the victim a lot. Reasons being that victim is going to lose absolute confidence in
Okay.
themselves completely. Not having self-esteem is a lot for an individual because you are more like an inferior vessel to others,
Yeah.
right?
Can't
So
express
it
yourself
yes,
and all
it
that.
feels as though where others are standing when your mates are talking,
Yeah.
you can't be there to
To
talk.
express yourself.
Maybe because you feel like you don't have anything to offer
Yeah.
due to the facts of maybe where you found yourself
Self.
or your environment or the circumstances.
Yeah.
Now let's not forget the fact that this low self-esteem comes due to the reason that they cannot speak out.
Yeah.
And that's why you're having low self-esteem. Do you understand? So
Yeah.
when you tend to show that attribute and that quality that you have this low self-esteem, like you don't believe in yourself, you don't see your
Yeah,
self-worth,
true,
you don't even value yourself.
true.
My mom used to tell me that if you don't have self-love for yourself, someone else there cannot
Cannot
give
love
you.
you.
Do you
Yeah,
understand? You
true.
can't offer what you don't have.
Yes, true.
So in all of this, self-esteem plays a very big role to them to get. So when you don't have it, just little to what you can offer.
True.
Understand? And our society really does not help.
Okay.
Really doesn't help.
Okay, that makes sense. So on Felicity, again, back to you once again. You're talking about punishment. Would you think enough punishment is being given to these sexual predators?
All right, so sorry, we had to say predator. Before we answer that question, we're talking about self-esteem. Is it okay if I say something about what she said? Now, how do we get to the point where self-esteem becomes an issue?
Yeah.
Because we have one, first of all, if that child is one that was brought up by maybe parents who don't allow the child to speak.
Yeah.
I'll be speaking a lot about myself here. When I was giving this topic and the person who was telling me about the topic and everything, I saw the 3 topics and I'm like, okay, and everything. And I'm like, okay, choose the one you want me to. And I was on my way to work and I was chatting with him and everything.
Mm.
And then he chose this one. I'm like, okay. I grew up in a house where before you speak, they'll shut you down.
Okay.
Before you say anything, you are before you even amount to anything, before you even think that you want to talk, you're shut up.
True.
Right?
Exactly.
And then you now come out in a society, you're faced with sexual harassment, and then you have a system that does not have any specific law defining what sexual harassment is, or the punishment method on anyone who is caught in the premise, of sexual harassment. What do you think will happen to that person? Low self-esteem.
True.
If my parents don't even allow me to talk, and then I went to school, talking about school also, what brings about sexual harassment in schools? I was in a school where I read communications actually. Okay. So we're all in the bid to survive, to pass. Everybody must pass, right? And we're in situations where lecturers will want to
make advances.
Very annoying, disgusting advances at people. But what I did always was that I made sure that my assignments were always on time. I won't have anything to maybe make me submit my assignment later than the normal. And then when I heard what lecturers were doing to other female, it was appalling.
True.
But these people couldn't say anything. They couldn't. Who will even believe you? First of all, my mates were already condemning my own mates that it's your fault.
You're not going.
Yes.
So if I speak, who will support me?
True.
If I say anything, who will support me? Right? I may not be able to jump into your question because there's a lot about sexual harassment. There's this particular movie. Maybe we should see it maybe later. Wildflower.
Okay.
She was a lady who wanted to survive at all costs. She was coming from the trenches. but she was very good. She got this job, and she just wanted to make ends meet in every legitimate way.
Yes.
But there was this certain boss who was very good at streaming stuff on, hype you, pump your head, you are very good and everything. And then in the long run, takes her to an apartment and then forces his way through the back.
That's sad. That's bad.
There was no government, nothing. That lady had to fight for herself.
Oh.
Let's say she was not as wise, she was not as smart, she was not tech savvy to make some video recordings, to do some things as it were in the movie, as evidence.
Yeah.
Who would have helped her? Because even the law courts, the so-called law court will ask you to bring evidence. I am the evidence.
True.
But they will ask you to bring evidence.
Yeah, true.
Right. So what was the question again?
I asked, do you think there's been enough punishment meted to
first of all,
predators?
there are no laws. There are no laws. Like I mentioned earlier, that there's no specific law in Nigeria that has defined sexual harassment and punishment meted on people who sexually harass their staff or students. Okay. So if there are no laws, where's the punishment going to come from? Sure. That's why we had the Natasha case. Senator Natasha case go as long as it did. Yeah. If that lady was not a senator, that matter would have been carpeted a long time ago.
True.
Yeah. So there are not enough punishments. There are no punishments.
Okay. So the government need to do they need to pass that into bill.
Yes. There are rulings, but there is no law.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. Well, that's a good one. So Miss Abba, so from what she said, I want to ask my question. Those victims of sexual harassment, most of them, okay, let me say some, not most, some of them choose not to report. Why do you think it's so? Do you think it's because of fear or stigma, or why do you think it's so?
Okay, so the both of them combined together, fear and stigma, they work hand in hand.
Or lack of faith in the justice system.
Like she said, we don't have a justice system. Sorry to say, but we don't have one.
Okay.
I cannot be in a place where, like you're in a school, you have your principal and you have your class teacher. And let's say your class teacher is a very close friend to your principal, right? Yeah. And your class teacher is bending you after class. Yes. How then do you go to your principal to now explain that class teacher of yours is touching you? Do you understand? Yeah. They won't believe you. Yes. No matter what you say, no matter who you bring, no matter the evidence you bring, they just tell you, you forged it. Sure. You can't forge anything. Wow. Nobody's going to believe you. So most times victims keep quiet because there's a lot of fear. Yeah. And you might not even know who you're trying to pick up a fight with. It might be someone who has a lot of connections. Power. It might be someone who has influence. Someone who has great power. So how then do you fight such person? So out of fear, they just they just decide to be in their shell, not talk about it. And then we're in this society where they feel sexual harassed people are not supposed to be part of the society. Like
stigma.
Yes, you should be in another world entirely. True. When you're harassed, they feel like you don't have a say in the society any longer.
Like an outcast or something.
That's the point. So there's this stigma that comes with it that people do not like. There's this discrimination that is attached to you as an individual. Yes. So most times people just decide, okay, let me just keep quiet. You're dying in silence. You're like a broken bottle. You can't fix yourself, or you can't look for someone out there who can help you fix yourself.
And gradually takes away your self-esteem.
Yes, and all that. Because you were scared and all of that, fear setting. Oh, I don't want to be stigmatized. Oh, I don't want to have this discrimination. I want to be able to do things freely and all of that.
And they don't believe me.
Exactly. And then at the end of the day, when you tell people just say, it's just normal storytelling. She did lie. Yeah. Normal. She just did forged story. And at the end of the day, someone just tells you, let it go.
Just like that.
Do you understand? Someone tells you, let it go. So
it becomes a trauma.
Yes. When you try to explain something to somebody and you feel as though the person is not understanding your point of view, and when someone just tells you, let it go, it demoralizes the individual to the lowest. Because at that point, you don't even know what to think anymore. You don't know who to run to. So you're just as good as, okay, I'm just going to stick to myself, right? I'm just going to hold this sexual harassment, the trauma and all of that. I'm just going to keep it for to protect myself
So,
and to avoid stigma, to
yeah.
also avoid fear.
Wow,
Right.
that's wow, that's insightful. So, Miss Felicity, from what she said, what role does power and influence play in sexual harassment, especially in corporate environments, like in the offices, like you said, and in school?
Mhm.
So,
Okay. They play both negative and positive roles.
okay,
If I've gone to school, say, 5 years in the university, 1 year service, maybe I took another 3 years before I could get a job, maybe my
yes,
dream job,
yeah,
and then the person who's going to give me the job is telling me, "You rub my back, I rub your
love
back."
you, but that kind of thing.
That's
Scratch my
power
back, I
play.
scratch
Ah.
it.
Right?
Yes.
And if I don't love God, if I don't love myself, if I don't have respect for my body,
Yes,
and where I'm coming from is the pains I've gone through is louder than my self-esteem, is louder
Yeah.
than my self-worth. I'll do what it takes, right? And then the positive role power can play is we should have people in place. I thank God for a lot of. I think we have a lot of voices where we can lay our complaints this time about sexual harassment and what's not, right? So there's a lot power can do. I don't want to even talk about the government.
Yes.
Because the first thing, I'm not looking anymore to the government.
You've
fight my
lost
fight.
faith.
Yes. I face my front as it is, because I was during the Senator Natasha
Lost
case,
kids, yeah.
I was talking to my friend, and she was like, "This is what's going on. This is what's going on." I had a good laugh anyway when the helicopter came, drove her to her place,
yeah.
and I was very happy. What if she was not a politician? What if she hadn't
Probably
the power
nobody
she
would
had?
have heard about it.
Okay, let's even say, because Nigeria is it's a very, very patriarchal society.
Yeah.
What if she didn't have the kind of husband she had?
has, yeah.
That fight would have been hers alone,
Yeah.
to go through. And she may not have won or gone to the extent that she went through.
True.
So you see power play, right? So the issue of sexual harassment is, as much as possible, stay away from anything around the corridors that would bring about sexual harassment. But if you couldn't do that, some unscrupulous vices or people, try to force their way, fight the fight.
Oh, okay. That's a good one. So what are the best way to empower victims to be able to speak out more on this harassment and
Empowering victims of sexual harassment.
yeah.
First of all, we need to, I don't know if the government can do this,
Okay.
but we need to come to a place where, or build bodies, or create initiatives where people can have the trust to speak out. Like Miss Abba was saying, she said, she spoke about stigma and what follows after sexual harassment.
Yes.
If I come out and say, God forbid, it's not going to
Yeah.
happen to me,
Someone
right?
comes out and say
I was sexually harassed.
Yes.
First of all, they want to look at my dressing. Am I dressed in a way that was sexually harassed?
Yes.
And all that. But first of all, say, okay, where were you when it happened?
Absolutely,
happened,
yes.
yeah.
And what were you doing when it happened?
What triggered it?
You want to tell me, say, so now waiting
Yeah.
they look for be that kind
Yes.
of thing. For someone like me, I'm already tired of the questions. If you don't believe, good and fine. If you believe, good and fine. Right? So we need initiatives, we need bodies, we need people, if at all, that can speak to the government or arouse the government in such a way that the people find trust or have trust in them again. People who are sexually harassed, people who were raped, they are not second-class citizens.
Yeah.
Sometimes these
True.
things are not their fault.
Yeah.
It's not anybody's
Most times,
fault
it's
to be
not
sexually
all the
harassed.
time.
It's nobody's
Yeah.
fault to be sexually harassed. So first of all, trust has to be built.
Yeah.
And second of all, the justice system has to be repaired, rearranged. Right?
Okay.
It's because there were no laws. That's why the powers that be wanted to sweep over, asking her to, step down, asking her.
down for
It's because there were
CTOs
no
and all
laws.
that, yeah.
Yes. So if that there were laws, you can't go above the law. Right? So
True.
build trust, build laws, and build people. Right? And then maybe also labor laws. It should be included in labor laws. And anything around the corridors of sexual harassment, this is the punishment, this is the punishment. I know Kaduna State has something like that, and probably Lagos.
Is it in the Sharia law or something?
No, it's not really the Sharia law. Like
Okay.
labor
No,
laws,
labor's
kind of,
law, okay.
yes. But from the federal parlance, there's nothing like that. So build laws, build people, build
So
trust.
the government should, we should work towards that.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay, Miss Ava. do you think there should be stricter law and harsher punishment for sexual harassment? Or is it, like she said, is it a real issue of lack of enforcement?
Okay, so before I answer that question, please permit me to add
To
extra
what-
yes
yeah,
to what
what
she
she
has
said,
said. So she has hammered more on the government
yeah.
and empowerment. So I'm not going to be talking about that.
No.
I'm going to be talking about the rehabilitation empowerment that ought to be given
To the
to
victims.
yes,
Okay.
sexual harassed teens. These are very delicate people, right?
Yeah.
They need to
Especially after
be
going through the
yes,
experience, you know.
they need to be handled with so much care, so much love, so much empathy, attention, yes, and all of that. They need to undergo several sections of
Therapy.
counseling, yes.
Mhm.
They need to understand that this is not a life-threatening circumstances, yes.
Yeah.
You need to let them know that this situation where you find yourself will pass. They say every phase in your life will definitely pass. Now, I feel like this is where professional therapists,
Come in.
counselors, yes, psychologists, and all of that, this is where they come in because this is where they put them in one particular setting, in a real world setting, give them sections, group sections, make sure they are free, create rapport with them, make sure they are free to air out their experiences to you. Make sure you're not judgmental in the process because most of them fear that, oh, they're going to get judged, they're going to get criticized in the process. So make sure you give them a very welcoming environment. Let them know that you're here not because I want to judge you, but because I want to help you. I want to empower you mentally to be stable, for you to be able to move further in life because these are things that can actually draw them back. So professionals actually have a lot of work to do here. Let them know that you're not alone, right?
Yeah.
Give them this balance in life because most
Sense
of them
of
feel as though,
belonging and all
yes,
that.
most of them feel like it's the universe
Yeah.
is
You what are they
yeah, the
doing
whole
and all
universe
that.
is against
Yeah.
them. So you make them understand that this is not it.
Yeah.
This is not it. You help them profile solutions that, okay, this is the way you can go
Go
about
towards
it.
it, yeah.
Yes. This is the way you can go about it.
Yeah.
And then from there, you begin to help them with social skills, vocational skills, tell
Yeah.
them, okay, this is what you can do and all of that.
Yeah.
Yes. So as regards the question you asked,
Yes.
I feel as though there's not enough punishment. Let's even start with the fact that we do not even have
One.
one exactly. Like she was saying, and she mentioned that there is no law actually. So if there's no law, you can't enforce a law that does not exist.
Mm.
Do you understand? So most of these perpetrators,
Yeah.
you just let them go scot-free.
Mm.
And when you let them go scot-free, you're telling other people out there that you can do it and you can walk away scot-free. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So I think the government has a lot of role to play here because they need to let people know that this is a very serious offense. This is someone's mental health you are dealing with.
Yeah.
This is a human being that you're reducing to nothing.
True.
They need to let them know that, okay, there's this punishment and we're not just giving the punishment, it's going to be enacted. This punishment is going to stand. Do you understand? So I feel like they need to really work on
Something
giving
like a
them
capital punishment.
yes, something very strong.
Strict.
So that when it happen to one person, the other person
Yes,
will know say, oh
yeah,
more.
yeah,
And do
true.
you understand? Yeah.
Yeah. That's insightful. True. So, do you? I'm going. You're a female, but I'm still going to throw the question.
Okay.
Do you think men experience sexual harassment as much as women? And
Well-
if so, why the cases of men being, or why do you think is mostly overlooked?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not trying to be biased, but
Yeah.
in my own opinion,
Yes.
I feel as though women go through sexual
You
harassment.
feel like what?
That's why I say I don't want to be biased, right?
Okay.
I'm not going to. It's just my opinion. You have yours and I have
Yes,
mine. Do you
yes.
understand?
The paradigm shift.
That's
Yeah.
yes, that's how I feel. And I think the reason why men's cases are not really
Looked into.
spoken about or looked into
Yeah.
is because our society sees men as stronger and dominant.
Hmm.
So,
So is that enough reason to overcome sexual?
well, most of the times, men are often stronger, so they tend not to want to speak about it. Even if a lady who is sexually harassed will not talk about it to so many people,
Yeah.
there's this particular person
Yeah.
she would try to be open to.
Yeah.
But as a man, it feels as though it's difficult for a man to open up. So I cannot help you. Why did you not tell me anything? Do you understand?
Yes.
So
yes,
that's
yes.
what I feel, my own opinion though.
Wow. So Miss Felicity, what do you think about that?
Well, it's funny because
Yeah.
she's right, and but also the thing is, men go through sexual harassment too.
Yeah.
It may not be as hard, it may not be as like she said, because men are dominant, so it may not be as hard, but women, we could come coyishly, we could come subtly,
Yeah.
but you like the guy, he has beards and all that,
Mhm.
six packs and everything. So you won't use force. You can't use force. Two
Yeah.
things you can
Like
use:
you're luring.
money,
Okay.
right, and maybe threatening his position.
Mm.
Those are the things. That's also sexual harassment.
Yes.
So it can be written, like we define. It can be
Yes.
written. It can be oral. It can be
Mm.
physical. So money is physical.
Yes.
Written, text message or something.
Yes.
So they also go to sexual harassment.
Right.
And sometimes they may not be able to speak. Either they're enjoying it, right? Or some
So
don't
wait,
even
enjoying
enjoy.
harassment?
Can I say something?
Yes.
The thing is, let's be honest.
Okay.
In the Nigerian sector, in Nigerian space,
Settings. Yeah.
when a woman, we agreed that a woman goes subtly, gently,
Yes.
because she cannot force him.
Yes.
Who overpower who?
Well, I think I've heard a story from somewhere. I think it's a girls' school setting, and I think the group of girls I heard raped the ice cream man.
The ice cream man.
Yes.
The ice cream man. Is the ice cream? Sorry to
No,
speak
like
about it
come
that
on, we
way,
are
right?
having this conversation.
But
Yeah.
it happens.
Yeah.
It happens. Like you said, group of girls
Yeah.
rape the ice cream man.
Yeah.
Maybe their hormones were flying all over. Maybe ice cream men are usually sorry to say abokis, right?
Yes,
And all that.
yes.
So is it sexual harassment? Yes. That's why I said it happens. So I'm not disputing that
Disputing,
fact,
yeah.
but I'm talking about corporate space.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
that's what is mostly in our faces.
Okay.
Right? So if somebody is giving you money, truth be told, giving you money,
Yeah.
giving you stuff, paying your house rent, you're living the big boy life,
Mm.
luxury and everything.
Yes.
Would you enjoy it or not?
Hmm.
Okay. So the thing is,
Okay.
men go through sexual harassment. Whether you're enjoying it or not, it is wrong.
It is wrong,
Okay.
yes.
It is wrong.
So,
Yeah.
why do you think that was my question? Why do you think it's being overlooked?
Okay, first of all,
Mostly,
when
yeah.
you're enjoying something, you may not want to say it out.
Say it out.
I'll come again. Enjoying harassment.
The dividends
Okay, the
Harassment.
dividends.
of harassment.
Okay.
When it comes to a male and female, let's be factual, let's be
Yeah.
truthful. It's different.
Very
Like we
different.
said,
Mm.
I can't in this space, in the corporate space,
Yes.
there's no boss lady that can force another person.
Yeah.
Except maybe she drugs him.
Well, harassment is harassment.
Harassment is harassment, whether he's enjoying it or not. And even if he's enjoying it and he decides to report the case.
It's true.
And you know that men will be easily believed when they go to the police.
Okay, why do you say
Yes.
so?
mean,
Imagine
it's on-
a
it's on
guy going to the police station and saying, "I want to write a case. I want to report.
Yes.
My boss raped me." They will look like
Okay,
they'll
like
look at
we
you.
said, sexual harassment may not necessarily only be rape.
Okay,
Yes.
my boss made some sexual advances at me,
Mhm.
and I refused, and she
Yes.
sacked me.
They will listen to him before they even listen to a woman.
Well, it's laughable.
Why
Yes,
is it laughable?
that's the first thing anyway. It's laughable, but they will listen to him first. Do you know why?
Why?
Because in Nigeria, in Africa, it's the man that has the ears
Yes.
of everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
If a lady goes and says so, she's sexually harassed and everything, we will always want to look at her first. Where was she? What was she putting on? Why was she sitting the way she was sitting? Why did she go to that party? Nobody will ask these questions to a man.
Mm.
No, it's paradigm shift,
Yes,
right? Let's
yes.
think about it.
Yeah.
Like, think about it.
Mm. Makes sense.
Okay.
Makes
Thank you.
sense. So, okay. Now I'm going to speak on the family settings now. What I mean by that is, do you think parents in particular are, doing enough to, like, talk to their kids, especially those that are victims of sexual harassment?
First things first. Can they tell their parents?
Exactly.
Can they tell their parents?
Okay.
Even if they can, some persons will. I mean, look at a child who maybe she was raped
Yeah.
or she was not raped. She gets pregnant. The first thing every African mother wants to do is send that child out of the house.
Yeah.
And then you now tell me sexually harassed. Maybe some mothers will fight.
Oh.
Some may not.
Hmm.
Like she said, stigma.
Yeah.
Right? So families are not doing enough when it comes to the African society. We have seen a lot of skits, we have seen a lot of dramas saying those things. Sometimes you see parents say, that family is a big family.
You
Now
can't
you
go
they
fight
get
them, yeah.
money. Just you man know they sit down like that.
Yeah.
Now. You man know they dress, So sometimes Nigerian families don't do justice.
They
to
do this
such
societal
issues.
blaming game.
Yes.
Okay.
They don't do it. Okay, society, like you said, society blaming games. Like I said, the society will blame you first if
Yeah.
you are a lady.
Mm.
They will blame you first. And if you are a guy, you go and tell another guy, okay, see what my madam they do me for office.
Yeah.
The first thing the guy, the money where they come,
it's very laughable.
It's
You just laugh
laughable.
over it, yes.
and they will laugh over it. But for the woman, they will blame you.
Yeah. True.
Let's just continue. If you want to say it's women supporting women, let's
No, it's okay. So, what do you think about the family settings of this
Well,
whole thing?
Families are not trying at all.
Parents?
I'm not going to give credit to parents when they are not trying.
Okay.
Because she said something. She said, the first thing an African mom will do, let's not forget the fathers.
Yes.
They are more active.
Yes.
The first thing they will do is to keep you outside first
Yes.
before they even begin to ask you questions. We find ourselves in families or societies where I feel like the family cares less about the children. You don't have parents who sit you down to ask you how far,
What's going on?
what's going on with you, what's in this soul,
Yeah.
like,
Why are you like that?
are you okay? Parents hardly ask you, how is your day?
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah, it's true.
You don't have this conversation with them.
Yeah.
So if you don't start from something little, how then do you now go to explain to them that you've been sexually harassed when you cannot even talk to them freely? I bet there are families out there that their children cannot even sit in the same space with them. They don't born you where say your papa sit down or your mama sit down or your elder siblings are sitting and you are there with them. They'll feel as though you cannot measure to
Like
them.
a hierarchy thing.
Yeah, sometimes it's just because of the age difference, right? So I feel like they forget that, well, people just say it a lot. Age is a number, right? They forget that
But in the
just
African culture,
we value age a lot. Yes, that's where the problem comes in. Where your elder siblings are sitting, you can't sit.
Yeah.
And when they are contributing, you cannot contribute. They use this word and they tell you, you have nothing to offer just because you are not of the same age range with them. You're in a family where you people are plenty. You can have like 6 children, 7, 8, and there's no one amongst your siblings you are close to.
True.
You can't even talk to them. You're not close to your mom. You're not close to your female sisters. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So this kind of things, without these, you cannot, there's no interaction between you. So you cannot even tell them.
Wow. So, like, what do you think parents can do differently to, like, pull the kids or the children closer when when they find themselves in circumstances like this or when situations like this happen?
First things first.
Yeah.
Sometimes parents don't find out from their kids. they hear it from somebody else.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, you get blamed that you don't talk to your family members when you have issue, and you're forgetting the fact that they didn't create that room.
environment,
Do you understand? For you to be outspoken. So I
Okay.
think family needs to step up their game.
Okay.
They need to create a safe space for their kids.
Mm.
They need to let them know that you are welcomed, no matter
Matter
the
what-
situation,
yeah,
no
true.
matter the circumstances.
Home is still home.
I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to criticize you. You are welcome. Just be open to me.
Mm.
They should create this space and environment, letting the kids know that, okay,
You can always
I can
come
be
back
your
to me.
listening ear. Yes. You can always come back to me with an open arm.
Yeah.
Not that I'll tell you that she'll beat you right hand, she'll draw you back to left hand. Do you
True.
understand? So parents should be really open. They should welcome ideas from their kids. They should just make sure that they talk more often.
Yeah.
Little issues. Nowadays, there are parents that they cannot even draw their children to sit and talk about simple topic
things,
as
yeah,
sex education. They feel like it's
Some
a
people
bit
shy
taboo.
away from it.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So I feel like this thing should come back. These norms should be brought back. Parents should understand the fact that little things like this will actually help the child to know that, okay, I'm differentiating between sexual harassment, there's domestic violence and all of that. So I feel like, yes, from this, parents need to top of their games.
That's really insightful. That's cool. I'm sure our viewers out there have really been educated and filled in on what goes on sexual harassment and how to start coming out to speak more of it. And, you know, we're sure a lot of people do the activism about speaking about it all the time, but I still feel like we still need to do more about it. So if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, like, and share. Thank you.